Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the board. If you'll introduce yourself, please, ma'am.
Thank you. Dear Superintendent and board members, first of all, I'd like to start with you cut off a child who admitted to having anxiety attacks earlier. I think that's a shame. I believe you are all aware of the out-of-control classroom environment students were subjected to at Islands High School in the business and technology class on August 25th of 2020. That included a Zoom takeover by students yelling obscenities, derogatory racist slurs, name-calling, cyberbullying, and degrading of the teacher and other students. That would be me and my son's experience. I'm here to speak to you, though, as a concerned parent and a community member. In light of that terrible episode, we have chosen, unfortunately, to leave the public school system for good. But before we go, I feel that I need to stand up for the many families who may not have another choice. In light of the incident mentioned before, and in light of the many questions parents are asking across our district, my time at the podium will be used mainly to ask you questions. These questions will be provided to you as well as the press. And let me remind you, parents need answers. To put more bluntly, we demand them. First question is about training. What training did teachers receive for this virtual schooling? Please detail a timeline, content, and participation rates for each grade. Considering the It's Learning platform is new to everyone, were the teachers adequately trained, and why do they need to use multiple platforms such as YouTube or Google Teams to do their job? Is there not a way to streamline this? And what steps are being taken or were taken to control the classroom in the virtual setting and keep behavioral issues at a minimum? And what steps were taken to keep students engaged in learning? The virtual school decision. What was the decision-making process for electing virtual school? Was this a vote from the whole board, or was this the result of a decision solely made by our superintendent? What is the threshold for your return to school? Please include data, your sources of data, timetable. What about multiple points of data to determine your next steps, including the AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the CDC, DFACS, and the parents in your community? Student engagement. What is the level of engagement for students online, and how are you measuring this? Can you please include data such as how long teachers and students interact with one another? And how much does a teacher actually teach in the virtual class versus the in-person class? Recognizing the lack of consistency using the various online platforms, how can you create consistency for both students and parents? Please be specific. The dropout rate, a huge concern. How many students did Chatham County lose from spring of 2020 to fall of 2020? Delineate grade levels and efforts made to identify and re-enroll your students, especially students at risk. And how can you justify the decision to remain virtual, knowing hundreds of students are at risk for slipping through the cracks and failing? What do you think happens to these students if they fail? Your common sense can answer that. Discipline, generally speaking, and without abrogating privacy or employment interest of those involved in my incident, how can you help keep the learning environments for the students who care about learning from being compromised in this virtual setup? Money and finances. Of the $11 million from the CARES Act, how much went towards this virtual platform? Please break it down in detail. How much is left, and how do you plan on using it to improve the cracks being exposed in this pandemic specific to Chatham County schools? Such as Chromebooks that are faulty, lack of training of staff, multiple platforms creating a more confusing experience, non-functioning devices being used by teachers, devices without cameras. How are they supposed to teach virtually without cameras? And why is it taken 5 months to get a portable Wi-Fi to the areas with poor service and lower socioeconomic situations? I'd like to share with you a story or two. A grandmother who is 74 years old with 5 children in the home, ages 7 to 17, all of which are in public school here in Chatham County. This woman has never had internet until 1 week after school started. Why is this? The family is now 3 weeks behind, and these children are failing. The grandmother is fearful that she won't survive this due to the stress levels. Where is your empathy for this? A middle-class mother of two, ages 4 and 6, in pre-K and first grade. She wanted to return to work this fall, but couldn't due to the virtual learning decision. She didn't know that it would be a full-time job to become a learning facilitator for her children. Now she has a hard time getting out of bed. She is overwhelmed. Her 7-year-old daughter cries daily and begs to go back to school, even asking her to drive by the school so that they can let her in. Her daughter says she'll be happy to go back with a mask as long as she can see her friends and her teacher. Where is your compassion and empathy for this? And why don't you use some of this as your data to decide virtual or in person? My family and my many parents of Chatham County look forward to your answers. Thank you.